Hello, everybody, and welcome to this short recap video on acing cover letters and personal statements. Now, this video is a short, digestible version of our workshops that we run, where we do cover cover letters, personal statements, as well as CVs. But as the title suggests, we're just going to be focusing on the cover letters and personal statements for today. So just a little intro to myself. My name is Abu Bakr, and I'm a student employability advisor at the Queen Mary Careers and Enterprise Service. So for today's session, we're just going to be covering what the purpose of a cover letter is and talk about how we should structure one. We're going to be thinking about how we approach a personal statement for postgraduate study or other opportunities. And then finally, we're going to talk about the support and resources on offer that you can access to help you ace your applications. So to begin, let's think about cover letters and where it falls in place in the recruitment process. Generally speaking, the recruitment process for graduate schemes or internships kind of follow this cycle. You have the first stage, whereas the application stage, which consists of the application form, CVs, cover letter, maybe some written questions as well. Then you may go on to the testing stage, where you do psychometric tests, job simulations, maybe followed by an interview or an assessment center. But for today, we're going to be focusing on that first stage and particularly the cover letter. Now, the cover letter is a bit of a weird document. Most of the time, we know we need to give a cover letter, but we've probably never written one. So the best way to understand how to write a cover letter is to understand why we need to give one in the first place, especially if we're going to give a CV too. Well, the way I like to think of it is the CV is a what document. Employers can see what education you've got, what experience you've got, and what skills you've got at a glance, through bullet points, just very concisely in that document. Whereas in the cover letter, I like to think of it as a why document. You want to tell the employers why you're interested in the role, why you're interested in working at that company, and why you're the right candidate. So you can see it's a bit of a different document as to what the CV is about, but they kind of complement each other quite well. Most of the time, when you take a look at job descriptions, in the requirements, they tend to say things like they want someone with a passion for a particular industry or someone who's curious. And usually it's in a cover letter where you can outline that passion, that interest, that curiosity quite well. So how should a cover letter be structured? Here's an example that's on screen, and you can see it follows the letter format. Now, just a bit of a disclaimer, this is if you need to upload a cover letter separately. So if you need to upload it as a separate document, or maybe even attach it in an email, then this is the approach you might want to consider taking. So you can see it's got the letter format. So those are things like your address in the top right, their address on the left, a little bit lower down, the date, a subject line as well, and a subject line being something like the application for a graduate trainee position at X, Y, and Z. If you know the recipient's name, so if you know the person who's going to be receiving your cover letter, then feel free to put their name in there. If you don't, then you can always put Dear Sir or Madam. Try to keep everything to a page, right? That doesn't necessarily mean a full page of writing because you want to make sure you have space to put your address and their address in there, but try to keep the entire document to a page. And if you're struggling for space, you can do things like reducing the font size to 10, or maybe reducing the margin size to narrow to try and give yourself some more space if you need it. And also remember to tailor your cover letter. That's probably the most important thing. It's very difficult to get far making a generic cover letter, right? And instead, you want to make sure you focus on researching the company, really focus on thinking about why you're interested in the role that you're applying for, okay? So that could be looking at specific tasks that you'll be doing, maybe working with certain teams or certain departments or certain clients. Maybe there's a rotational aspect about the role as well that really interests you. So talk about those things, those unique aspects about the role. When it comes to the company, research them. Go online. What have they accomplished so far? What are their values and missions? Does it align with your own? Do you know anyone who works there, or can you reach out to people who work there, maybe through things like LinkedIn or networking events? And if so, you can take that and mention it in a cover letter. So it can be something like, having spoken to such and such, you've learnt A, B, and C. So try and find these unique things about the company that will separate yourself out from all the other candidates and put them into the cover letter to really show them that you've taken the time to research and you're making an informed decision to want to work at this company. And this is what employers are looking for. This is what recruiters are looking for. They're looking for that kind of bespoke element in your cover letter, something that kind of stands out a little bit compared to everybody else. So in the cover letter, it's about why the role, why the company, and why you. So the why you bit is about your skills, your experience, maybe your education as well, things that are relevant to the role. So again, when it comes to that tailoring, look at what they want from you. And usually this is outlined in the job description. And try to make sure that you align yourself with the job description by showing them the skills that you've gained that they are asking for, maybe with some examples. Now, just to give you another idea, let's say in a job description, they want someone with really good communication skills. And let's say you have some experience in a coffee shop, for example, as a barista, right? So one of your tasks is, just dealing with customers day to day, and that requires really good communication skills. In the CV, you might have a bullet point that says something like that. It could say, dealing with queries from customers from different backgrounds, which requires excellent communication skills. So very concise and straight to the point. Whereas in the cover letter, you might want to unpack it a little bit more and maybe give an example. So you could say, having worked as a barista in, Queen Mary coffee shop, I have developed excellent communication skills through dealing with queries from customers who range in age and demographics. An example of this is when a customer came into the store, and then you can go into that example even further. And you might want to use something called the STAR technique to help you with that as well. Now, as mentioned, this kind of structure, this letter format is if you need to submit the cover letter as a separate document. Whereas some applications, you just kind of type into a text box online. And if that's the case, then you don't need to worry about writing your address and their address. And you can just keep it to the main text in that text box. And of course, it goes without saying, make sure you take a look to see if the company that you're applying for, if they've given you any guidelines that they'd like you to adhere to. So they might give you a certain word count to stick to, or they may want to look for specific things in the cover letter that they will outline. So make sure you go by that as well. So now let's talk about personal statements. Now, with cover letters, they're generally for a job or a particular professional opportunity, maybe an internship or a project or a research opportunity. Whereas personal statements is more for, let's say, postgraduate study. Like maybe if you want to do a master's, or maybe you want to get into teaching, or maybe you want to do a law conversion course. Generally speaking, these things require personal statements. Now, for those of you who are kind of watching this, you probably have some experience writing a personal statement for coming to Queen Mary. And if you remember back then, you probably did it through UCAS. So you wrote one personal statement that went out to 4 or 5 different universities. Now, the thing is, when it comes to postgraduate studies, it's a bit different in that every single university and every course that you're interested in, they get their own personal statement. So it's not really done through something like UCAS. And he said each university gets its own personal statement. So they're expecting it to be very tailored specifically to them. The one caveat is if you're interested in graduate medicine, as I believe you still do it through UCAS. Now, let's say you're interested in a master's in, I don't know, aerospace engineering at Queen Mary University of London, or maybe at Imperial College, and those two are your choices. Queen Mary will get its own one, and Imperial will get its own one. So you want to make sure that they're a little bit different. So when writing the personal statement, you want to think about your interest in the subject area. So if we use that aerospace engineering example, why are you interested in aerospace engineering? Like, where did it come from? Was it personal experiences? Was it something that you read? Maybe it was from your current bachelor's degree. Maybe there were some modules that you did that really interest you to it. Maybe some extracurricular activities. That interest could come from anywhere. And you want to talk about where it came from and why you're interested in the subject area. Then, why are you interested in the specific master's course that you're applying for? So again, if we think about the example of Queen Mary and also Imperial, why do you want to do the aerospace engineering course that's set out at Queen Mary? And also, why do you want to do that specific one at Imperial? They may be the same course, right? But they might be structured slightly differently. Maybe the one at Queen Mary is a bit more theoretical. Maybe the one at Imperial is a bit more practical. So you could pull on the unique aspects of each course and maybe the specific modules that interest you and highlight them in your personal statement. Then why do you want to go to that specific university? So why Queen Mary? Why Imperial? Why UCL? Why Oxford? Why Cambridge? So why do you want to go to that specific university? Try to avoid surface level things. So if we think about Imperial College London or Oxford, they're some of the best universities in the world, and I'm pretty sure they know that. So if you just mention that in the personal statement, that might not be enough. And instead, you want to delve into it a little bit more. So what is it that the university offers? Why does it interest you? Is it the location? Is it the department itself? Is it the professors who are going to be teaching the course? Maybe they are doing some research in some really interesting things, and you'd like to be able to connect with them a bit more. Maybe it's what people have gone on to do from graduating from that course, from that university, right? Or maybe you've had some experience there, right? Maybe an open day, maybe you know someone who's studying there. Wherever it might be, why do you want to study at that university? In the personal statement, you also want to outline your educational and professional experience. Of course, use your bachelor's degree, especially if your bachelor's degree is relevant to the master's as well. Think about the things that you've learned, the projects that you've worked on, the coursework that you might have undertaken. And your professional experience, if you have any relevant experience, amazing. You know, talk about what it is that you've done, what you've learnt, the kind of skills that you've gained from doing those experiences. And if it's not relevant, then think about the soft skills that you've gained, maybe communication skills, team working skills, or attention to detail that will carry over quite nicely into you doing the master's course, right? Then also talk about what your career aspirations are. So after the master's course or after the teacher training program or the GDL, what are your career aspirations? What do you want to do? Universities are really interested in finding out what you hope to do after this master's course so that they can kind of see your plan, right? So maybe if you're interested in studying a master's in aerospace engineering, you want to get into engineering as a profession and maybe be more sustainability focused. Maybe through studying, I don't know, computer science, you want to go on to develop your own company or work in software development or in AI. So whatever it is, feel free to mention it so that they can see that you've got a sort of plan in place. But don't feel like you need to commit to it. So if you're unsure, just think of some career aspirations and put it in there. But don't feel like you're now locked in, that you have to do it. It's just to give them an idea that you've got again like an informed interest in this course. You want to use things like the course page itself, the university website, to find out about why you're interested in the course in the university. Use the information that they've given you. You can use things like case studies or articles to talk about your subject area interest as well. Maybe if you're interested in doing a law course, maybe there was a particular case study that really interested you, that really stood out to you that you can then reflect on. Again, if it was engineering, maybe there's a really cool project that you came across that a company is working on, or the latest innovation that really excites you. So you can bring in some real world case studies that have really inspired you into this as well. Maybe you've attended some open days, right? If not, then maybe look at reaching out to your network. Maybe it's on LinkedIn or other events to think about why you would want to study at that institution as well. And you can bring that into your personal statement. You can also use forums too. And of course, there are resources like Prospects, the Medic Portal, and All About Law, where you can learn more about what you can include in the personal statements, how to structure it. Prospects is a bit more general, whereas the Medic Portal, as the name suggests, is mainly for medicine. So if you're interested in graduate medicine, that's an excellent resource to use. And something like All About Law is really good for if you're interested in getting into law, whether that's from your LLB into an LLM, or if you're interested in doing a law conversion course. And there are many other resources available as well. Now, the key thing here is to make sure you tailor, and that's the most important thing for both the cover letter and the personal statement, is to make sure you tailor both of those, okay? Now, the reason why that is important is because, the analogy I like to think of is when you think of tailoring, think of clothes, right? Think of wearing a suit or a dress. You could get it off the rack, and if it fits you, then amazing. But if you get it tailored to your exact measurements, then it will always be perfect. And that's what the approach that you wanna take for the cover letter and for the personal statement. And it makes sure, and it also looks like to the person reading it that you're really interested in working for them or really interested in studying there and only there. They don't need to worry about all the other applications that you're doing. And tailoring it really gives us the impression that you're dedicated, you're really enthusiastic. Now, that was a very quick overview about cover letters and personal statements. Hopefully, it's enough to get you started. And you can access some more support from us at Careers, mainly through one-to-one appointments. So you can book in one-to-one CV and application advice appointments where we can go over your CV, your cover letters, your personal statement, and give you feedback as well about what you can do to improve. So maybe after today's video, you want to have a go at putting together a first draft, then feel free to book an appointment and we can go over your first draft together and give you some pointers about maybe what we could do to improve it. If you need help finding work experience or you're just unsure what to do after graduation, we've got some career guidance appointments on offer as well. Let's say you have an interview coming up. A great thing to do would be book in a practice interview to help you prepare for it too. And there are many other things that we offer at the Careers and Enterprise Service to help you get career ready during and after your studies at Queen Mary. So you can contact us by calling the number here or accessing the website. Feel free to scan the QR code as well. That will take you directly to our website here. And that's it. So thank you so much for listening. Hopefully that's been of use. And again, this is just a short version of our longer workshop that we offer. So do keep an eye out on emails, on the events calendar, if you'd like to attend one of these workshops to get the full amount of information from us. All right, have a good rest of the day.